Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is the Finch Show, and I am James Finch. On this episode of the podcast, my guest is Kiara from Kiara's Workshop. If you haven't seen her, she's on Instagram, she's on YouTube, and she's absolutely phenomenal. She does cosplay and a lot of prop making, has a ton of really cool videos out there, a lot of really awesome content. I was really excited to have her on the podcast. We had a great conversation because not only is she really cool what she does, she's a phenomenal person as well. On top of all that, she is a member of a group known as the Iron Idiots, who are all cosplayers who have created their own life-size wearable Iron Man armor suits and have gone to a few cons together. So we talked about that as well. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's Kiara. Okay. Having that Mark 42 behind you is just like so freaking cool. I've been so insanely inspired. You know, I went through this like funny path where like a year ago, my wife got me a 3D printer for Christmas, and I didn't know like anything about 3D printers ahead of time. And it was just a little flash forwards like Adventure Pro or something like that. And I just used it to print like minis for D&D and stuff like that. And then one day on social media, I decided to randomly start searching, and I came across all of these cosplayers who were 3D printing like full scale armor. And I was just like, oh my God, like I feel like I've been a kindergartner coloring in the sandbox this whole time. There's like this whole other world. I know 3D printing wasn't the start for you, but where did cosplaying actually begin?
Ooh, that's a long one. So it goes back to probably 8th grade. That's what I always tell people. So the origin really, if you want to dig all the way back, was back when I was like 6 or 7. I was absolutely in love with Spider-Man. I wanted to like be Spider-Man. I really wanted the spandex suit for Halloween. Like it was just the one thing I wanted like for a really, really long time. Like I had a Spider-Man themed room. It was like hardcore. And my parents, like they didn't get it for me because they knew it would be like, kids were mean back then. They still are. They knew it would be a problem for me, so they never let me get it. Which, I mean, that's fine. But when I was like, I want to say 17 or 18, I found like a girl version of a Spider-Man suit on Spirit Halloween, and I was like, oh my God, like I can finally make the dream come true. And I was looking for it, and of course it was sold out like the day after I found it, so I couldn't get it. And so I started looking into like custom like Zentai like bodysuit printing, and I ordered, it was like a Spidey pool, like Spider-Man Deadpool bodysuit, and I think that was like the true start to this hobby. But the actual passion for it started in 8th grade, when I saw Iron Man, specifically Iron Man 3. This was the dream suit back here. And that's when I started, like, I was like ripping apart calculators and like trying to figure out how things worked, and looking for like paper files. Like I was going to make a paper Iron Man helmet. And my earliest creation was actually like an arc reactor I made from like 2 like circles of copper wire with like LEDs wired to it. And that's actually how I learned how to solder. Like a really long time ago, I remember my parents yelling at me to not solder in the house because like the fumes and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I made an arc reactor, and then high school started, and I was just kind of like overwhelmed with everything, so I didn't really do much with it until so senior year was really when everything started for me. And my first like actual build was a Thor suit. And I made it from like real leather, and I learned how to sew, and I dyed it, and I learned how to use foam, contact cement, all of that stuff. This is the remade version. It's not the original. I think that's in my basement somewhere. But it was a combination of things, but it really rooted from Spider-Man, I think.
I've love every time I talk to a nerd, fellow nerd. You know, one of the things that we note going through anything that we're into is that every hero and every villain has their origin story, right? And I firmly believe that every nerd has an origin story as well. But for you, it sounds like it was just like Spider-Man right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah. I'm still doing Spider-Man. Like I I still want more Spider-Man suits. So I think that is probably my true origin story. Especially because, oh yeah, this is a good one. So we had this like superhero princess breakfast thing at my school, and this was when I had my my Spidey Pool suit, and I wore it to that. And the other girls in my school went as princesses, and I went as Spider-Man. And it reminds me of that meme, if you've seen it, where it's like, in a world full of princesses, be Batman. It's kind of
Yes.
like that. But all these little kids were coming in, and they were so excited to see Spider-Woman. And I feel like that's kind of like, that was the moment it really clicked for me. I was like, oh crap, like this is really awesome. Like I could do like charity or something in this. And I still haven't, because obviously the last couple years haven't been the best for that. But I would love to do something with the suits. And that was like super inspiring as somebody who like didn't do this before ever. Like that was really scary for me to walk around in my high school in a skin tight bodysuit was terrifying. But
Right.
yeah, that was a cool moment. And that, I think that's what really kind of kept pushing me in that direction, especially after like, I went to conventions before, but I wore the Thor suit to my first convention shortly after that, like in the summer. And like the reactions you get from people, and like the surprise people, like the reactions are like awesome, because you put so much work into this thing and you wear it and you're kind of like putting yourself out there, and people love it. Like it's such a great feeling. So I think that's what really motivated me to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, going to cons is so fun. You know, as a community, it's great. I mean, yeah, you're going to have your, you know, excuse me, your jerk randomly here and there. But for the most part, I always loved it going to a con, especially, you know, because it just felt like there was something about feeling like these are my people.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the community. Like this is, you know, and I understand 100% what you mean. I'm a little bit older. I'm a Gen Xer. And so for me, I grew up in a period where reading a comic book got you shoved in a locker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that that's great today, but considering the fact that the MCU is now mainstream,
Yeah.
so to see that and getting to experience that at any kind of con is just absolutely phenomenal. And I always love going because the varieties that people come up with for cosplaying is just mind blowing. Like some of the stuff you see, I still think to this day, one of the best ones I ever saw was a guy who literally just went as J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
Like that was it. He had like the full, like, you know, the tight suit with the vest, and he had done his hair gray and got the, you know, the whole flat top cut and everything, and grew the mustache. And it was just like, oh my God, that is awesome. You know, I've had a friend for years who always wanted to get a group together of like 10 people and go as multiple man. Like, you know, awesome. Everybody just dressed the exact same and just all walk around together. But I just can't find enough people who are all like the same size, you know, regardless of the size, just the same size.
Yeah.
What venture did you go through that got you into the 3D side of it? Because I think I remember hearing once you were like sort of resistant to it at first.
Yeah, I was like kind of, I had the belief that like, oh, I got to make everything by hand, otherwise it's like cheating or something. Because that's what you always hear people when they hate on 3D printing, that's what they go to. And I was one of those people until I started doing it, and I was like, oh crap, this is actually kind of hard. But the thing that really led me to do it was I wanted just like better details in my costumes. Like I think the first thing I printed was an arc reactor for my Mark 46, I believe, which is the foam suit. And then I printed my first helmet. And there's just like, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Because compared to like foam, you know, it's just cut it, heat shape it, seal it up, prime it, paint it, you're done. But like, you have to actually put an elbow grease when you 3D print. And that was something I didn't realize. I was like, oh, I thought you just like put it on the printer and it's done. And no. Yeah. And like trying to like orient things on like a smaller bed, because I had like one single printer. I had an Ender 3. And I tried to print a full-size helmet on it. And luckily I have a really tiny head. So it worked out. But trying to orient it is like difficult too. So
yeah. The that's one of the things I found out, because I think like a lot of people, I just assumed a 3D printer was a microwave. Like you just plug it in and it does what it's supposed to do. You walk away,
Yeah.
and then I think like my first 4 prints were totally failed prints and I was getting so angry. And then you don't know,
Mhm.
like, did I get a lemon? Is there, no, do I need to contact the company? And then you start going down this like rabbit hole and you're like, oh my God, it could be bed leveling. It could be the nozzle. It could
Yeah.
be the Bowden tube, you know, but you're absolutely right. And I wasn't prepared for that either. Just how much like post production you have to do on a piece. And my
Mhm.
wife can attest to my table of half finished helmets I have in the other room, where it's like, okay, that's going to need another coat of primer and then maybe
Yeah.
sand it again. But the results, I mean, you've seen it. I mean, going through
Mhm.
social media, you're like, oh my God, some of the stuff people comes up with, it almost makes me want to quit. Like, I'll never touch that. That's
Yeah.
insane. That's crazy. um, but I guess, and I'm just jumping around here. I really like, I got such a kick out of vicariously living through you and you folks who were at WonderCon. Like that
Mhm.
just looked like such an absolute blast. And for those who are kind of new to this world, if I get any of this wrong, you can feel free to correct me.
Mhm.
There's a group who is lovingly known as the Iron Idiots, which include yourself,
Yep.
Emily the engineer, CTK, and of course Frank. But you guys did not, if I understand correctly, you guys didn't know each other like in real life prior to all this, correct?
No, it was actually the way we became friends was Danny CTK. He made the group chat. He's kind of like the founder. We call him the founder. He made a group chat of like 7 of us. And he was like, "Hey guys, like I was looking for other people who build like Iron Man suits and stuff, and I put this group chat together so maybe we can all be friends." And it's been about 2 years now, and we do have like there's like 2 groups. There's the Iron Legion and the Iron Idiots. So the Iron Idiots is the 4 of us, and we just kind of we do all like the traveling and the podcast stuff. And the Iron Legion includes the other 3 who I think 2 of them are like 2 or 3 of them live outside of the US, so it's kind of hard to get everybody together. Um, but yeah, he just made a group chat, and it went really well. Like we're all really good friends, and it wasn't until like probably a year or a year and a half into having the group chat that we all got to meet up at Silicon. So that
Mm-hmm.
was like the first time we all met in person. Um, but yeah, they're all really awesome people. Definitely some of my closest friends for sure.
That is so cool. It looked like I mean, I know it wasn't, but it almost had this like festive, almost party atmosphere. It seemed like you guys just kind of like hanging out in the hotel room and attempting to get everybody suited up and get out the door. And that's one of the biggest questions that I have as somebody who's looking to do this eventually. What's your level of like anxiety, like packing your suit to go on an airplane? Because that like terrifies me and I haven't even gotten close to that point yet.
Yeah, so I have 2 experiences now doing that. One with this and one with the foam suit I wore to WonderCon. And I learned very quickly, make sure you can take apart your suit because this is like a whole unit, like it's like an exoskeleton, and it's like huge. So I had to pack like a literal like tub, like it was like a huge crate, and I had to pay like an overage fee of like $75 to
Whoa.
get it on the plane. My fault because I created like a tank of a suit, but um, I had like 2 tubs basically, and they you got to make sure you pad it. I also kind of skimped on that. So what Frank and Emily do, they like wrap their suits in like their clothes or microfiber towels or something. Just pack it tight so nothing can like shake around. I know Frank uses padded suitcases, or like hard shell suitcases, I should say, um, which I also did with my foam suit recently, which like didn't give me half the anxiety of packing this one did because this one's 3D printed and the other one was foam. So like if it bends, it's just gonna crease. It's not gonna snap. Um, but yeah, somehow they managed to break my helmet. TSA broke my helmet on a foam suit. So I don't know how that happened, but it's fixable. This one, however, the chest is like completely cracked. Um,
Oh.
it got totaled at the convention, but it got even more totaled on the flight back. So it's permanently display right now.
Mhm.
But yeah,
What happened to the con? Any specific incident that cracked it, or just?
no, it's just it wasn't built correctly. And I spent like a month before the con, like con crunching and skipping steps, and it just it didn't last very long. It was also stabbing me, so I had a lot to fix that I didn't get to really fix. So it was just a lot of like limping and like trying to keep the suit together for as long as I could.
Uh,
Um, yeah, it was a stressful. The comparison between Silicon over the summer and WonderCon recently is like it's night and day for everybody actually, because I remember there was a night before Silicon where we were all sitting there like working on our suits like the night before the con. We were even working on them in the hotel room like beforehand, like before we suited up, so nobody was ready compared to WonderCon where it was like I could suit up halfway by myself. um, our friend Dylan, who was also there, was suiting up by himself. We all knew how our suits worked and fit this time, so it was a lot smoother, but a lot less panicky.
Experience is experience.
Yeah.
That's how sore are you at the end of a day like that?
Ooh, it depends on who you ask. I know mine, I'm probably the least sore in terms of my body because I was wearing a foam suit, but Danny, his suit is fiberglass. Uh, it's like 75 pounds. So
Whoa.
he probably is the most sore. My suit is just foam. Like the boots are just foam with 3D printed soles, and then my feet just go in there. Like there's no support.
Ooh.
So my feet were like dead for about a week after that. Really, really hurt. Um, and then I know like Emily and Frank too, like their shoulders start to hurt. Like it's not even like you have to be wearing something heavy. It's just having weight on your shoulders for any period of time just really starts to weigh down on you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a decent amount of sore, but it's not like you can't get out of bed sore. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember looking at it and watching the videos, you guys getting suited up and all the walking around you did, and then
Yeah.
God, I just thought to myself, God, afterwards I just want to get home and take a shower and get in a hot tub. Like
Uh-huh.
just oh my gosh. I mean, I know how sore I get just going to Comic-Con as a fan, any con, and I'm just talking, just walking around all day. Like, man, by the end of the day, my legs are like, all right, bro, we're done.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having like, especially not being able, walking slightly differently than your body's, probably used to doing.
Mhm.
Wow. That's, so you're Chicago based, correct? Is that
Yeah.
Chicago?
I live just outside Chicago, like an hour-ish. I go to school there though, so I tell people Chicago because it's
Oh,
easy.
yeah.
Yeah. Nobody
Yeah.
else knows like anything else about Illinois but Chicago, so I'm just like, yeah, I live in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. I run into that all the time. I live in Freeport, which is about midway between Chicago and the Mississippi. It's like the midpoint. And I run to people outside of Illinois. I say the same. I don't say Chicago. I just say, oh, a couple hours outside Chicago.
Yeah.
Because other than that, like some people know Rockford. Rockford is 30 miles east of us here. What are you going to college for?
Production design. So it's like set deck, prop making, concept art, like stuff along that lines. Originally I was mechanical engineering, but my brain could not handle that. I was going to NIU.
Oh, you're a fellow Husky.
Yeah, well, I was
Hey,
for a
me
couple
too.
years, yeah. But yeah, I went from mechanical engineering to computer science for like a semester, and then I switched to, I think it was like visual media or something at NIU. And then my friend actually goes to Columbia too, and I saw what he was doing, and I was like, wait, that's like perfect for me. And so I hopped over there, and I've been here for a year now, and I absolutely love it. Like it's right down my alley. It's perfect.
Fantastic. The I don't know if you ran into this when I was in college. I went through this like really big science phase where I was really big into like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I want to be an astrophysicist. The problem is I am terrible at math. I
Yeah.
am horrible. Like anything more than like algebra 101 and my brain just like implodes on itself and collapses into a dying star. And I told myself I was motivated, I was going to do it, and I got about 2 weeks into calc and I'm like, oh my god, I don't think I can do this, man.
That's what took me out. I lasted through calc 1, but calc 2, I remember I took my first like unit test for the semester and I got a 17%. And I remember I saw it and I like ran to my car and I like called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I need to change my major. Because I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Yeah, I was the same way. And I remember going to my school counselor like the day after, and I'm like, I got to change my major. Like this isn't gonna. And she was being
Yeah.
so polite. She was like, "Oh, we have all these resources for like tutoring." I'm like, "No, you don't understand.
Uh-huh.
Neanderthal brain can't do. Like no amount of tutoring is gonna make a difference, man.
Yeah.
You know, I'll end up committing suicide before I get anywhere close to that." What so when you're enrolled in college in classes for production design, what kind of classes and what kind of stuff do they handle there?
Oh, so right now I'm taking it's like set design and construction. So it's like a shop class where we learn how to make flats and like, you know, the walls you see on set and stuff. We don't actually decorate them, but it's just like structural, like learning tools and stuff. Um, Taking a production design history class, but there's also like electives like special effects, casting, um, special effects makeup, cinema props. I know there's like a miniature class where we build like a miniature like dioramas of like stuff for movies just to get into the habit of like learning how to use those materials and stuff. So there's a pretty good variety, and it's really cool because you get to meet like other people who are interested in like building things too. Especially because like I think a couple like other cosplayers in my area also go there. So I feel like it's a hot spot for finding people who do exactly what I do, and it's super cool because like it's really hard to meet people like that. I feel like yeah, it's become more mainstream, but it's still like kind of like a rarity to find somebody who's like really into like the costume making and stuff. So yeah, it's a really cool school, really cool people, and I think I am taking the models and miniatures class next year, which should be super cool.
Yeah, that sounds, man, I picked the wrong major. Looking back on, I'm like, dude, that sounds amazing. The so when I guess the question is because you have so many different routes that you can take in terms of creating something that you want to cosplay as. Do you just latch on to something that you're like, that's something I really want to do? And then is there sort of like a thought process in terms of like, do I want to do foam? Do I want to do 3D printing? Like, is there kind of a way that whole process sort of plays out for you?
Yeah, I think for my Iron Man suits, it's probably going to be 3D print from now on, just because I've built 3 foam suits at this point, and I know like the pros and cons of doing it and like what I can actually accomplish in terms of detail and stuff versus what 3D printers can. So I think for that, I've definitely chosen 3D printing for that. But if it's like a really big prop or something like this, like I'll make it out of foam for sure. It's just really like, why am I wearing it? How long am I going to be wearing it? Like comfort, time it takes, like lots of different variables weigh into it. Like I know like Frank would probably 3D print a sword like that just fine, but I like to make that stuff out of foam just because I know like I feel like that would get heavy in my opinion. Maybe I'm just weak, but that's just pink foam. Like it's just really like convenience and what I know I'm capable of doing. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it would come down to what you're going to use it for. Like if it's just going to be a wall prop,
Yeah.
then yeah, 3D print it. Why
Mhm.
not? If I'm going to be having to walk around somewhere and carry it for 8 hours, I don't know if I want to
Yeah.
do. I've got that right now. I'm working on a Stormbreaker, and and it's kind of a Stormbreaker like variant. So I'm kind of like in my head trying to work out like how much of this material versus this, because it's one thing if it's sitting in the corner of my room and friends are coming, oh, this is cool.
Mhm.
But if I cosplay it up and go to a con and I have to carry that thing around all day, I kind of don't want it to weigh 30 pounds,
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that. That's really cool. You went to NIU. I didn't know that. That
Mhm.
was, I'm pretty sure I was there before you. Like I was there 2005, 2006. So I think it might have been before you. I'm
Yeah.
taking a stab in the dark at that one. Yeah, I'm not trying to bring this thing down. I was a student there when the shooting happened. And
Oh
that
wow.
was just like, whoa, that was like one of the most bizarre experiences of my life. That's a story for
Yeah.
another podcast I'm not going to get
Yeah.
into here. But well, that's really, really cool. Do you have I thought you had said one of your live feeds that you kind of had an eye on some Overwatch stuff. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I was thinking about, oh God, I'm gonna butcher her name. Brigitte?
I've heard
Brid
it pronounced so many different. I have a friend who insists it's Brigitte, and I'm like,
Brigitte.
I'll,
Bridget.
I'll go with whatever at this point.
Yeah. Well, we know who I'm talking about at least, but yeah, I was looking at doing her at one point. That was like 2019 probably. And then Mark 7 happened, which was like a really weird suit that I built. But anyway, yeah, I was considering doing her. I have a couple of things built for her that I probably go in 3D print now since I have the materials, but I would love to do that as well as like some like weapons or something. Like they're just really fun. They look like they'd be fun to light up and paint because it's so different from like the Iron Man stuff.
Hmm.
So it would be a nice change of pace. Like sometimes I like to pick up side projects just so I can like take a break from the Iron Man grind. But
Right.
yeah, Overwatch would be cool.
Yeah, I had this stupid idea in my head that I'm never going to do that. I'd love to build like a full scale mecha, but then I'm like, where the hell would I put it?
Oh yeah, I
it would
was
take up
I was
like
gonna
half my
build
living
my
room.
friend. My friend and I were considering building a Reinhardt, like a full size Reinhardt suit.
Oh
Probably out of
man,
foam because there's
yeah,
no way we're 3D printing that.
that thing would weigh hundreds of pounds if it was 3D
Yeah,
printed. It'd be
no.
insane.
But I
Yeah.
would love to do that and like the weathering on it. Like I think I was looking at Stoneheart because Stoneheart would be so much fun to paint up and like the
Hmm.
textures and everything. I would have a field day with that. But yeah, space and time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that the hardest thing with that, I think, would probably getting like articulated gloves that are that big, and then the hammer. That would be an
Yeah.
engineering challenge just to figure out how you'd walk around carrying that thing, you know?
I had like an idea of how I would do the fingers actually.
Mm.
It's just I think I've seen somebody else do it before. I follow this one Reinhardt cosplayer, but it's like a string system. So they like hook onto your fingers and there's a string that goes up and like over like the fingertips and you just pull them and you can
Oh,
yeah, it's like puppetry basically. So
whoa.
yeah,
That'd be really cool. That makes a ton of sense
yeah.
too. I could totally
Uh-huh.
see that. I've always kind of wondered if it will, kind of like, because I've never seen a Reinhardt, but I've seen a few Hulkbusters in my time.
Hmm.
And it's the same kind of thing where their hand is only coming about to the wrist. And
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see them like moving and doing this thing. And it's like, yeah, they've got to have some kind of something that's probably beyond my understanding of how it works. But
Mhm.
yeah, something like that would make a ton of sense. I heard that do you have like actual like computer coding that goes into your suits?
I do, yes. It's more so like I pull like a sample code from the Arduino library and then I just kind of change it up until it works. But yeah, I actually do a decent amount of coding, especially with this new suit. I've been working on like a Jarvis. So basically it's like a voice activation box and I can like program it to do things when I load my voice in. So it'll recognize my voice. And that involves like a decent amount of coding, but it's not like super hard, like hacker level anything. Like it's pretty base level.
Mm-hmm.
I know people like Crashworks are really awesome when it comes to um, they sell boards and they also sell codes along with it. So you can read like their little manuals and like change the code to whatever you want, like colors and like settings and stuff. But they give you a code um, to start with, which is really awesome for like beginners too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's something that yeah, piqued my wife interest because I brought it because she is a computer coder as her career. Like that's
Mhm.
what she does.
That's awesome.
She's a massive nerd. And I don't think in her mind and in my mind there was never any thought of like those two crossing paths. And when I brought it up to her the other day, I'm like, yeah, because I had been watching one of your videos and you were talking about, doing some coding and stuff like that. And I had mentioned to my wife and her like ears went Vulcan like instantly, like, what cosplaying and coding. So that's really cool. And I'm one of those people who I watch a ton of videos on YouTube because I have no background whatsoever in electronics or wiring. And this suit that I'm currently working on, I'm like, okay, it's one thing, like, because you can go on Amazon and buy like an LED light with like a 6-inch long cord and a switch. And I'm like, okay, but I need the light here and the switch in my hand.
Yeah.
How am I? So just trying to, mainly because I know I'm a noob and I'm terrified to electrocute myself because I hate electricity. Like I can't stand it. Excuse me. I'm a homeowner. And one thing I will not DIY is electrical work at all. Like the thought that one tiny screw up could kill you, just no, I'm calling a professional.
Yeah.
And I know with that thing, we're not talking like that level.
Mhm.
What kind of power source do you use for those? Do you have like a good sized lithium ion battery that's running, or?
It's usually just like a 4-pack of like double A's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or like my helmet will take like triple A's sometimes. But I am gonna upgrade to like the rechargeable like phone battery thing, those little pieces. I know Frank and Emily do that too. It's probably better in the long run. I think it gives me more power because my 4 double A's usually die pretty quickly. And it's actually funny when it happens because in the foam suit at WonderCon, I forgot to change the batteries, and you can just see the arc reactor and all of the lights just start turning like yellow, green, orange, red, and then they just die. So I was walking around and all my lights were red, and I was like, "What's happening?" But yeah, I'll definitely be upgrading my power source soon because that's not gonna work.
Oh, okay. That shows you just how much of a noob I am that I don't even like comprehend that. Because I started thinking at my suit, I'm like, okay, I need a light for arc reactors, I need for the helmet, I need for blah blah blah. And just in my noob mind, I'm like, how much power is that gonna? Am I gonna need to get like a brick of a lithium ion battery and like put it on the back of my suit? Or but no, okay, yeah, that's the, so I have more research to do, definitely. That's boy, that I can't remember his name. I think it was Benjamin, was it, the
Yeah,
photographer?
yeah,
Dude, those came out amazing.
right.
Wow.
He's awesome. He apparently came to the con like just for us on that day.
Whoa.
He did a whole shoot for us, which is so cool. I've never done a photo shoot before. So I've never had like good pictures of that suit either for like,
Mhm.
I mean, any of my suits, but that suit either. And that was kind of the suit that got me going in this group anyway. So it was kind of like a full circle thing. But yeah, he's a great photographer, great guy in general.
The I was just blown away. I mean, I loved all the pictures that came out of WonderCon. But when you guys started posting those, it was like, holy cow.
Mhm.
I mean, I think there was even one guy, I think you commented on Frank's and said that it was CGI. Like, that's BS. That's CGI. Like, if that isn't the
Yeah,
greatest compliment in the world to A, how good the suits
right.
are, and then B, how great the photography is, that somebody's like, there's no way somebody made that,
Uh-huh.
That is so cool. Are you excuse me, are you going to C2E2 this year?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's my home con. I will always be at C2E2 when I can.
I
I'm
am so
hoping that this new suit will be ready. Like that's the goal. So we'll see.
I'm going to keep an eye out for it. I am so excited because I
Yeah.
haven't, I, for a long time in Chicago, it was Wizard World.
Mhm.
And then Wizard World, maybe it's just me. It felt like it got too over corporatized. Like it felt like it got
Yeah.
too over. They were like, everything just tried to be an ad in your face. And then
Mhm.
C2E2 went to that one year instead. And I'm like, now this is what we're talking about. Like, this is
Mhm.
what Wizard World used to be. And I'm so excited. I haven't been to a con since COVID.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of like waiting. I'm like, I want to have plenty of time to make sure everything's got to. But yeah, now that it feels like we're around that and everybody's vaccinated now, at
Mhm.
least in this house, and I've had it. So at this point, I hope I'm okay. That one I'm really looking forward to. We always laugh. I think it might have been like 5 years ago. We went to C2E2, and my wife had never cosplayed before, and she always wanted to. And so we were going to
Mhm.
C2E2, and she's like, I'm going to cosplay. I'm like, okay. So she decided to dress up as the White Queen, Emma Frost from the X-Men.
Yeah.
So she has got like, the white tight pants, and then like the whole like thing with like the midriff showing, and
Mhm.
like the big blonde wig and everything. And for people who don't know, C2E2 is at McCormick Place in Chicago, and McCormick Place is huge. Like, there's multiple convention halls that are all connected. And we got there and we didn't know, and it was, I think back then, I want to say it was like in March or April or something like that. And we were still dealing with this Illinois thing where like one day it was 60 and the next day it was like 30. And she didn't want to bring a coat in because she didn't want to carry a coat around all the time. We had to park in this parking garage across the street from one of the entrances to McCormick Place. And it was like cold, like it was like mid 30s. And she was like, I don't care, find the closest door so we can get inside, because she's like in this thing. So we cut across the street, we go into the door. We just happened to come in on the complete opposite side of McCormick Place, where they were having, if I can remember, an American Gynecological Association convention.
Oh, no.
To this day, I laughed to no end because my wife was just like, I don't care. This is what we got to do. We're doing it. So she threw her shoulders back, threw her head up, and marched right through the middle of it, just like right through, just so we could get over there. And the amount of heads that turned were like, oh yeah, there's like nerds in this building too. Yeah, you know. And we just had to march right through and get to the main part. And I wasn't cosplaying. You know, I was just going as husband. So I'm like an American Captain America t-shirt and jeans, and I just have to like nod and wave at everybody. Hello, 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 hello. You're doing God's work, by the way. Keep it up. So yeah,
I had a similar story too.
Yeah.
So over the winter, we had a C2E2. Yeah, that was over the winter. I only went for Saturday, but I went in my Yelena costume because it just came in, and I was like super excited, and I wanted to go to C2E2 again because it's been so long. And I drove my friend. We drove together to C2E2, but he had to leave early, so it was just me for a couple hours, and it's like 6 or 7 at night now, and I'm like trying to find my car in the parking garage, and I literally could not find it. I could not remember where I parked, if it was like the second floor, if it was the first floor, like which color I was in. And so I'm like walking this parking garage for like a whole hour in like these heels, like the boots have heels. And so my feet are killing me. And then I start noticing like swarms of business people walking in like through the parking garage. So there's just like lots of I'm like walking around in this white costume, like I look like a weirdo, and these business people are walking past me, and they're like, what are you? And I remember I walked up to a door in the parking garage, and I opened it, and there's like a business couple standing there, and the guy goes, oh, a stormtrooper. I'm like, wow, you could not be like farther off right now. But yeah, I got totally lost, and I remember I was like sitting right outside the business convention, like on the floor, on the phone with my mom, like plugged into the wall because my phone was dying. I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna have to sleep here tonight. Like I can't find my car. But yeah, it's a C2E2 thing, I guess. Like the business conventions.
Yeah, that's and that's one, I don't know, it's one of those weird little small joys about going to cons, is that walking through any kind of area that's close to the con but isn't quite fully con people yet, and some of the strange looks and head turns you get of like, I've never been called a stormtrooper though. That was
weird.
That's like dressing up as Doctor Strange and somebody goes, oh, Ghostbuster, and you're like, no. I just saw a white suit, so you must be a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, hopefully we see you there. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm kind of like, I don't know, is 4 months out considered con crunch yet, or is that more like 2 weeks too?
I mean, it could be. I mean, it depends on what you're building.
Yeah,
definitely. But 2 weeks is definitely more con crunchy.
I'm sort of like, and right now I'm 50-50 on whether I'm going to cosplay at it, because I had conceived this idea. I'm doing like an Iron Man / Thor mashup suit. And when I originally set out to do it, I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it. Right now, I've only got 2 printers. I've got a little, I think, SV01, and I've got a CR10 Max that I've had it for 2 months. I've yet to be able to print on it because there's something wrong with it. And by that, I mean, like, I've exhausted every last options. Creality finally got back to me last night. They're like, yep, it's the motherboard. We'll send you a new one. So I'll finally be able to get that one up and running. So originally I conceived this. I'm like, I have all the way until March. That's when WonderCon is. So if I can just till March, and then I realized, oh, C2E2 is in August. How much do I kill myself trying to get it done before then, or just go with the flow? And if I get it done in time, great. If not, I'll just work on getting it till March. You'll see that I'll probably have more gray hair here by the time we get there, because it's already stressing me out thinking about it. what do you have any? I know we talked about the Overwatch stuff. Do you have any more like future ideas for, or some kind of like ultimate thing that you would love to do that you just haven't quite committed yourself to yet?
I want to build an R2D2.
Oh,
Yeah, I talked to the R2D2 Builders Club at C2E2, the one in Winter, and they were super cool, super informative. I actually joined, crap, I don't remember what website it is, but they have like their own website for like blueprints and instructions and forums and stuff. And yeah, I would love to build an R2D2. I just have to stop building Iron Man suits first because I cannot do both at the same time. That's too much money. But yeah, it's a priority thing. I have to get that straight first, and then yeah, I would love to have an R2D2.
you looking to do like the fully remote control, all the bells and
Mm-hmm.
whistles kind of thing?
Yep, go big or
I'm
go home.
I'm assuming not the jets on the side so it can fly around.
I mean,
Although if you
if
did that, you'd become a legend. You know that,
yeah,
right?
if I can do that, I can make an Iron Man suit flying. Like that's the goal.
That would be really awesome. Yeah, that would be, and that's I think the great thing about cosplaying. There is a lot to learn, but I think just about anything's possible. Like, right? Like
Yeah.
whether it's 3D
Mhm.
printing, whether it's foam, if you're really into it, really want to do it, yeah, you can make it happen. That'd be actually kind of cool. Yeah. And I'd seen those before at like cons and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
maybe it was just me. I always just assumed that somebody bought it. Like, there was somebody somewhere who made them and you could just buy it and then show up with the
Yeah.
remote control for it. But yeah, the more I've read recently, like, no, people are actually like building these things like in their garage, in their workshops. And wow, I
Mhm.
could see that. Anything else?
Probably the Reinhardt. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
something I do want to consider. Although I probably wouldn't be the one wearing it. I just want to
Mm-hmm.
build it. I would love to take on something like that. I know the group has always talked about building a Hulkbuster together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's like an actual possible thing in the future, but it's been in talks, so
Right.
you never know.
That would be
Could
like the
happen.
that would be like the ultimate thing if you guys built like a Hulk Buster, but it took like all four of you to pilot it.
Yeah.
That would be like the ultimate like Voltron, like
Yeah.
the Iron
Yeah, that'd be
idiots
really
come
awesome.
together.
Yeah.
That would be, gosh. And then you just start thinking about the logistics because that's not even the kind of thing that like you could suit up in a hotel room and go down
No.
the hallway to the con. Like you'd almost have to roll with that thing in the back of like a U-Haul or something. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially because we all live in like different parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how we would even build it to begin with, but then we'd have to all get it to one place. So
Right.
either someone would have to haul it themselves or we would all have separate parts and like unite together. I
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be
Slowly
complicated.
be. Danny lives the closest to WonderCon, right?
Yeah, he lives in California.
Yeah, so you'd almost have to start building the parts and like UPS them to him,
Yeah.
to have them begin to
Yeah.
assemble it, and yeah, then the day of you could show up in a flatbed or something and pick it up.
Hmm.
That would be really cool. I would love to see a Hulkbuster and a Reinhardt like walking down the hall at a con
Yeah.
together. What God, I'm just trying to think. I've only played as Reinhardt a few times, although I've seen lots. God, what would be the height on that?
Ooh. I want to say 15 feet.
Wow.
I really don't know. I'm gonna Google it really quick. Reinhardt. Oh, 7'4".
Okay.
That's shorter than I thought.
Yeah.
Huh.
You could probably see that though.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, you'd wear stilts inside of the suit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're already like I'm 5'9", so that wouldn't be too much higher. Maybe like a little less than 2 feet. So that makes
Yeah.
sense, I guess.
The shield would be interesting. It'd be interesting. Do you have any ideas on how to do the shield? That
No,
energy shield? Because that would be, yeah.
the hammer would be the main concern because you got to figure out how to hold it with like the strings. Got to have like enough tension or something or like grips or I don't
Right.
know. The hammer has to be light enough though. But if you're holding it like this, you're like supporting it this way and holding it this way.
Yeah.
Then as long as you've got something underneath it and on top of it, you should be fine.
Right.
Contain it. Yeah.
That hammer would have to be foam.
Yeah.
Like
100%. Yeah.
the weight of that thing, if it was 3D printed, like even if you
Yeah.
were at like
No.
2% infill, would be insane.
Well, yeah, and if you
Wow.
built the hands out of foam, then you'd have to make it out of foam because I feel like the 3D print would bend the foam like with the
Mhm.
weight of it. So yeah, it would probably be like an all foam build.
Right.
But
Gosh. Now I'm just excited. Now I like actually genuinely want you to do it so I can just
yeah,
follow the process on Instagram. That
yeah.
would be how's you're you've kind of gotten to the point where on Instagram you've got a pretty decent following. How has the community been to you so far?
Oh, really awesome. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Instagram, I will always love Instagram over everything else because um it's taken, I mean, it's been about 4 years since I started that Instagram, and it originally started as like a personal, like I just posted like normal pictures of myself. But then it like slowly took over with the cosplay thing, and I started gaining like an actual like following, like people actually know me instead of like just my builds, and they like check my stories and they interact with me and stuff. And like, granted, I'm like really bad at responding to my DMs, but um you get to a point where like people like start to know you for you, and it's really kind of cool. Like you feel like you build like a community. um and I know the rest of the group would probably agree too, with that. TikTok, however, TikTok and all the other social medias are a little iffy. Let's just
Yeah.
say that, because people comment some weird and also kind of mean things sometimes. So it's just something you kind of get used to being on social media, which I had to learn the hard way. Like I remember the first TikTok I posted that went sort of viral. I think it hit 1 million views recently. Um, was posted on Reddit by somebody, and Reddit is Reddit.
Yes.
um, and yeah, there's all sorts of people that comment mean things there, and I took it pretty hard. And I think like you just have to get used to it. Like to take it with a grain of salt. Um,
Mhm.
Easier said than done, but like you kind of build a tolerance to it, is what I'm saying. And so
Right.
yeah, Instagram top tier compared to everything else, because people are nice to me on there.
Yeah. Well, I think so much of it has to do with how it comes to you. There is a landscaper by the name of Sarah Bendrick. She's had a couple shows on like HTV TV and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And she was on the podcast one time, and we were talking about just exactly that. That and she does like a sponsorship deal, I want to say with Steel, the like chainsaw company. And so
Yeah.
there would be sponsored ads in Facebook. And, she said, man, the comments on those sponsored ads are like the worst. Like, I don't
Mhm.
even look at them, and so we sort of talked about, the difference with like Facebook and that kind of stuff. And especially with TikTok
Yeah.
is your content is coming to people rather than on Instagram where people are seeking you out.
Mhm.
And that causes a different reaction. Like, still, I don't know why it is if something comes in front of my face that I don't like, why I would take time to be a jerk about it. Like, that still
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me. But whereas that's also why I love Instagram, because people come to you and they come to you for a reason because they like you, they enjoy you, whatever it is you're all about.
Mhm.
And that creates, I think, a much better atmosphere. Yeah, Reddit is just like the cesspool of humanity.
Yep.
Like if some future civilization is doing archaeological research on right now and they find like the digital archives of Reddit and they go, oh my God, these people were
Yeah.
savages. They're just horrible, horrible people.
I would say Reddit still isn't bad as iFunny. iFunny's truly the cesspool, and then it's Reddit. I've been posted on both, so I know.
Oh, okay. I've
Yeah,
never I've never once dabbled into iFunny. So
don't.
yeah, I'm in that position where I'm like I hate to lean into it, but I'm a bit of the old fogey. Like it was only 6 months ago that I got into TikTok, and that's because I avoided it for so long. And I'm like, oh God, it's for 14-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And then I download it. Now I'm addicted to it. I stay up way too late, just like
Hmm.
scrolling through TikToks. And then right about the time I'm ready to doze off, I see something that's absolutely hysterical, and then I'm like, okay, I'm up again.
Yeah.
The well, I do want to say once again thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I'm typically not a pushy person, but you guys have got to get on more Iron Idiots podcasts. I
I
love those
know.
things. Those are so great.
We recently we were supposed to do one at WonderCon, I think, but once we get together, everything just kind of goes crazy. Like we don't stay on track. We don't have a schedule. So we meant to do one there, and then Danny got COVID. So things were delayed a little bit, and like we just keep. I feel like all of us are really swamped right now, but we're really trying. I also was responsible for designing like an intro animation, and I haven't had time to work on it. So we're all a little behind, but we're trying to put them out there.
Well, as somebody who plays Dungeons and Dragons, I fully like believe like when you have like grown adults who all have lives and you attempt to coordinate schedules, it's like a physical impossibility, you know, because like one person works nights, one person's work days, one person works weekends, another person, and then every weekend there's somebody has a birthday or it's Mother's Day or so. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't just bend the laws of physics and do it anyway. Because you know, I love those things. Every single, I think you guys have only had 3 episodes so far, but every time one comes, I'm like, oh great. You know, you kind of look forward to it, like a new episode of Moon Knight or something. Like, oh dude, I get to go home and sit down in the recliner and watch the new episode. That is so cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much. You're great. Keep doing what you're doing. If some random person that you've forgotten about from now till then comes up to you at C2E2 and is like, hey, I think I know you. That's just me.
I won't forget you by then.
Well, I know how life goes sometimes. Yeah, this is you got anything you want to say on the way out the door?
Oh man, hot seat.
Yeah, I love putting people on the spot uncomfortably.
I guess I would say if you're listening to this and you want to get into the hobby, just go for it.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate. You can always learn, you can always improve. Don't be scared of messing up. Just jump into it and do it. Like I always like to say, go big or go home. Yeah,
you know, that's great that you say that and it just like sparked in my head. That was actually something that I wanted to bring up, because as somebody who when it comes to that stuff, I always tell people, and even though I'm new to it, you know, I will say to people, especially people who are, whether they're getting into cosplay, but especially people who are getting into 3D printing, is that you will fail. And that's okay. Like there's no better teacher than failure. Believe me, the amount of times I've been so excited because the helmet's just about done printing, and then the next day I'm crashing it and throwing it in the trash. And then you're just mad, frustrated, and you want to throw your 3D printer in too, but then the next one comes out way better. So yeah definitely. And no time like the present. Do it. You know, do it. Come to a con, say hi to people, because it's so much fun. And you know, I always say, you know, you only get to live once. So if there's something you really want to do, stop making excuses. Just do it, man. You know, I'm 42 years old and I'm printing an Iron Man suit. So you know, it's also not too late to start either. I hope that's what we want to say too. Well, I want to thank you so very much for coming on. We'll be in touch, and awesome. Hope we'll get to talk to you again sometime.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you bet. Seriously. Thank you.
All right.
All right, folks. So that was the podcast with Kiara. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making it. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, for continuing to tune in, for liking, subscribing, sharing, all that kind of stuff. You folks are amazing. I've got nothing else to say other than the fact that I love all of you. Hope you take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.